Hey, how's it going everyone? I'm UpsideMax and we're back with another TFT video. We have a couple last days on the patch, so I'm going to be talking more about the niche lines, the more hidden OP compositions that you need to know to get your free LP before the next patch drops. So there are going to be 5 of these lines that I'll be talking about today, more niche lines and conditional comps. And some of them are dependent on your opener, and some of them are dependent on a specific augment. So the 5 we're going to be talking about today: Greater Moonlight Zyra Sorks, Too Much Value TF Reroll, No Pivot No Scout Zeri Reroll, and then Chem-Baron Smeech and Visionary Flex. So pretty strong compositions, but they're not going to be your default compositions, and you're playing these maybe once every like 20 games, twice every 20 games. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comment section below, and I'll get to them as soon as I can. Okay, so let's get started with the Greater Moonlight Zyra composition right now, or at least the Moonlight Zyra one. Basically, what happens is at the start of combat, one of your random 1-cost champs are going to be upgraded to either 3-star or 4-star, depending on if you have the gold or the prismatic, and they will also gain AD and AP. Something to remember is that since it is a random 1-cost champion, you unfortunately cannot be playing any Lux or Morgana on your board, so I'll be talking about what to play on your level 8 and 9. This is a level 8 and 9 composition, as I just mentioned, and it is essentially going to be a LeBlanc check. And the reason why this augment is so good is that it allows you for instant stability, getting you your main carry right away, which will allow you to not need to roll that much, just establish your front line, and then go level 9 for that LeBlanc. One last thing to note is that this is a magic damage burst composition, so the fights will be pretty fast, and also this augment only gets offered on 4-2. So this is what your standard level 8 board is going to be, because you will not be hitting LeBlanc most of your games on level 8. Your Zyra Abyss is going to be Shojin JG +1, and the +1 is either going to be a Nashor's or a Guardbreaker. Both are fine. Guardbreaker is a little bit better. As I mentioned in the previous slide, you immediately stabilize from getting your main carry from this augment, so you don't need to roll for this Zoe 2, you don't need to roll ideally for this Swain 2, even Nami 2. You just need to establish your front line. And since we cannot be playing 6 sorcerers if we don't have LeBlanc or if we don't have Sork +1, because normally you need Lux, we'll be stabilizing normally around the 4 Emissary 4 Sork board with our Garen as our main tank. Now, how are we going to cap this out? This is what your capped out board is going to look like. So roll a little bit on level 8, stabilize, get your main tank, and then start going level 9. Once you have your LeBlanc, you can drop your 4 emissaries and then look to play this board instead. So you're going to move Swain from the backline into the front line, and now he becomes your main tank. So this is going to be a 6 Sork, 4 Form Swapper Swain. Heals well, it will heal a lot, has a lot of HP, and then also will get that DR. So make sure you're putting your main tank items on him. Play your 6 sorcerers. Your main carry is still going to be your Zyra, and LeBlanc will be holding attack speed and AP items. This is going to be her Abyss due to her mana lock during her 3 auto attacks and just her auto attack damage mechanic. Jace will just be holding leftover items, extremely flexible. You just put a TG on him, you could put tank items, you could put mana tank items such as like a Vow and place them right in front of the enemy carry. You could even put him in the backline if you have excess AD items as well. So super strong composition, and the biggest part about this is that it allows you to not need to roll too much on level 8 for a main carry and stabilizes your board right away. Best in slot augments, well, of course, you will either be needing the Moonlight or the Greater Moonlight. Mana flow is extremely good in sorcerers. It synergizes extremely well with having a lot of backline carries, and all of these units essentially do something, these backline sorks, and you also get a little bit of a mana flow / Shojin with Nami, so this is going to be quite good. Make sure you're building attack speed items with this augment. Piercing Lotus allows you to not need to build a Jewel Gauntlet or a Shiv / Spark. At least Shiv's that Spark in the early to mid game. Late game you still kind of want a Shiv or a Spark. Upper Mobility and Level Up are quite good prismatics for the Sorcerer composition because of the LeBlanc check and you need to go level 9. This of course is going to be a lot better when it is a gold opener to take these augments. And then some reasoning, slamming, and epic, these are really good as well, even raining gold. Essentially any econ augment or tempo augment is going to be good in vertical sorks. So definitely this is going to be a line that you can pivot to when it is 4-2, you're playing Sorks already, and this essentially gives you not a free ticket to level 9, but it establishes your board right away, and if you have strong enough front line, then you could just go level 9. Best of slot anomalies. Because we already have a decent amount of damage in this composition, I normally like to evolve the Swain, and Swain uses a good amount of tank anomalies because he is both a pure tank and also has a lot of AP. So Stone Skin, Bulwark, this is going to be very, very good on him. Slime Time and Mage Armor is takeable because of his ability power and how much he gets from 6 Orc. So Slime Time will keep him alive, also do some damage. Mage Armor, he'll be gaining a lot of resistances, and then also Deep Roots as well. Flat HP such as Giant Size or Fortified. I think Fortified will be okay on Swain, but Giant Size I think is they're both okay on him. I would rather prefer these resistance ones instead. For your backline, Zyra, or if you have a LeBlanc 2, then you'll be evolving one of these two. So if you have LeBlanc 1, I'll probably just evolve your 3-star or 4-star Zyra. Actually, if it's Zyra 3 and LeBlanc 1, then it's pretty close. It just depends on your items and who's itemized and what they are. But pretty much the mana ones are going to be good, so like Nothing Wasted, Kill Streak, these are quite good on both of these. Also, Comeback Story, Damage Amp is very valuable on sorcerers. They already have a lot of AP, they already do a lot of damage amp, but they have a lot of damage, but they have no built-in damage amp into their kit. The last thing to note is you can call in card Nami. I will only do this if you have a suitable holder. For example, you don't always have to play 4 Form Swapper. You could be playing Black Rose and like a Mordekaiser if you have Mordekaiser items. So if I have a Mordekaiser with good setup and I want to play 6 Sork with him, then you can call in card Nami. Moving on to our next composition, Too Much Value TF. This is going to be a level 7 composition and is a magic damage burst / scaling comp. I'll talk about why this is both. Extremely good 2-1 gold econ augments. You can essentially read it as gain 8 gold up front in the form of 2 cost units. So sometimes you get even high roll, get an early 2-star 2 cost, and that will stabilize your board as well. Plus around 4 to 6 gold every round, and this will eventually go down as you take out these units. The way this works, you'll gain 1 reroll for every 2 unique 2-cost champions on your field, and it'll give you 4 2-cost units. So these initial 4 2-cost units don't have to be unique, so hopefully you are able to at least fit in 4 unique 2 costs, and you definitely want to level the 4 onto 1 and start stacking up those rerolls. TF, 3 points to his ability. The first one, well, technically he throws all 3 cards at the same time. They just do different ones. So the first one is going to be a heal to the lowest health ally. Second one is going to be an AoE red card, dealing damage to the largest clump of enemies. This will deal a lower damage than the yellow card, which is going to be his single target damage. And this will be stunned for a second and deal a lot of single target. So that is also why you'll see in his build, we'll be wanting to build Archangel because of how much of an AP scaling Twisted Fate has. So let's get into the stage 2 and like stage 3 of this. So this will be your board essentially as you take this augment ideally, and you'll be going to level 4, playing 4 individual or 4 unique 2 costs and starting to get those rerolls stacked up. Because you're playing 4 random 2 costs until at least you get these 4, which are going to be the best, Leona, Kali, Nocturne, Rel, your board will not be that strong compared to other boards that have good synergies, good item slams, etc., and also combat augments. So usually you're going to be looking to 5 loss stage 2 and really just build up your econ. Starting stage 3, you can even begin to slight roll on 3-2 or even 3-5, stabilize a little bit, save a lot of HP. I would avoid 10 loss. This is not exactly a composition that super wins out, so if you are able to save some HP, which I highly recommend, then definitely do it. Starting stage 3, a really good item holder and setup is going to be Renata +1. The reason being is Renata uses the same bis as TF, which is going to be the Shojin plus Archangel. So then this way, even paired with Visionary with the Rel, you're able to kill some units mid game. Maybe even like streak, get a little bit of a win streak going if you get hit 2-star Renata or even some upgrades. So this is going to be a quite reasonable transitional board, and plus 1 or 2 costs, either Tristana, you can play like a Band or 2, a Vlad 2, whatever upgraded front line. You just have to remember that the 2 costs have to be unique. So you can't be playing 2 Rels or 2 Nocturnes and still expecting to get the rerolls from that. Most of your rolling should be done post stage 4 on level 7, so make sure you're not rolling too much on stage 3. And the last thing to note is you don't have to greed 6-2 costs on stage 3. If you hit a TF or a Loris or just like better units, you can, I would prefer to keep 4 in, at least for stage 3, but you don't have to keep 6 in and really greed that one extra roll. At the expense of your HP, of course. So let's move on to the actual board now. This is when your level 7 board is going to be like. So normally you're going to level the 7 on 4-1, and you're going to roll on this round for at least Loris 2, TF2, and then either an Ambessa for 4 Quick Striker, or just to play 4 Sentinel. Regarding rerolling a Kali, if you have items for her, then you will want to reroll her as well. If you have no items for her, I would avoid rerolling her and just focus on the Loris TF and then looking to pump levels, just because a Kali with no items doesn't do anything, and it will delay your Twisted Fate 3 and your Loris 3. TF Bis is going to be primarily Shojin, Archangel +1. Jewel Gauntlet is really good on him, same with Rabadons. You can also just build the Morello and the Giant Slayer as well, but I would definitely prefer to keep the Shojin and Archangel on Twisted Fate. Loris best in slots. Your frontline is going to be reasonably tanky with 4 Sentinel eventually, so that's why you don't always have to build pure tank items on Loris, hence the Sunfire Cape and the Spark, but I would definitely get at least 1 tank item on him and even an adjacent unit with like a Redemption. Regarding positioning, so TF has really strong single target due to his gold card, as mentioned on the initial slide. So the way you want to position him is always going to be in the back line. You're going to want to position him right in front of an important enemy melee carry. So in the current meta, it will either be like a scrap Echo. Let's say Echo's here, you put it right in front of the Echo. You keep stunning him, single target, and he's going to die. Vi as well in Enforcers, or even like sometimes Scrap, and Rumble also in Scrap. So make sure you're positioning him and he's not just stunning something random. You can also put him in front of a key enemy CC unit such as an Elise, as long as you're able to kill it before it casts, because if you're right in front of it and it casts, then you will get stunned. So that's how you're going to want to position your TF, and then make sure that Loris is on the same side as your TF. So if TF is on like the left side, make sure Loris is slightly biased to the left side, and then vice versa on the right side. Best in slot augments to finish off this composition. Well, of course, you need too much value. Piercing Lotus is really good in this composition. It allows you to forego the Spark, and also instead of the JG, you could build like a Guard Breaker, a GS. Both of these are fine. Trifecta is going to be good in this composition. Also, it's getting buffed upcoming, so this composition is still going to be viable, 2 and 3. And then the last really good one is going to be Portable Forge. This is essentially allowing you to perhaps reroll the Nocturne as well if you hit any range artifact. Also, Malzahar on Twisted Fate is quite good, and I forget the name of it, but there are a couple of artifacts in this one. Light Shield, this is the one I was thinking of. Light Shield and Sentinels is going to be good as well. Make sure you're putting that on a Sentinel for maximum value. A couple other good ones: Adrenaline Burst, Big Grab Bag, and Quick Striker Crescent Crown. This will allow you to drop the Nocturne and just play 4 Quick Striker, 4 Sentinel on level 7. As you level up, your next in is just going to be a 6 cost unit. There's no great level 9 in, so normally it's just going to be your 4 Quick Striker, 4 Sentinel, then level 9, just whatever unit you have, ideally a 6 cost. Best in slot anomalies. TF is going to be your main carry, right? And Loris is going to be your main tank. That means that ideally you want to be evolving your TF. So Brutal Claws is going to be good on TF if you have a Jewel Gauntlet. One thing to remember is Brutal Claws only really works well if your unit already has spell crit, because it enhances the crit mechanic. It does not give your units the ability to crit, as opposed to something such as Call the Weak. So Brutal Claws is going to be good on TF with the JG. Infectious Anomaly, you have no innate AP with like Sentinel, Quick Striker. You get a little bit from Reroll, but it's not really anything. So Infectious Anomaly is going to be good. Comic Story, DA is always DA, and also Cultivating Magic, because TF is going to be doing the majority of damage within this composition. Loris, Deep Roots, Giant Size, any of the HP ones are going to be pretty good, even like Fortified on him. Don't be taking the armor and magic resist ones, because you will be playing Sentinel. So no Bulwark and no Stone Skin. The third composition I'm going to talk about today is going to be no pivot, no scout Zeri. This is going to be a level 5 to 6 composition, and it will be a physical damage scaling comp. Now, the reason why no scout, no pivot is good in Zeri Sentinel specifically is because the stats that it give is HP, AD, and AP. So HP multiplied by the resistances on Sentinels is going to result in very effective tankiness. AD on Zeri is also extremely efficient because you get no base AD from the snipers or firelights. So these are two stats we really want. And then AP on your Sentinels just means like larger shield, more durability, etc. Now the conditions to play this composition is you need a rod start for sure, because we're going to be needing 3 rods. So if you don't have a rod start, it's just really hard. And then Zeri and Singe start as well. So then you are able to start getting these units the stats. Talk about the early game here. These are going to be your 5 units you want to play on level 5. So it's going to be 4 Sentinel and your Zeri. Now the key ones are going to be Singed and Zeri, of course. If you have like, let's say a Loris over Leona and that's all you have at the time, then that's fine. You'll just be putting the Loris in and starting to stack him up instead. The way you're going to play this economically is to not level or roll until 3-2. This is when you're going to natural to level 5, and you're going to want to roll on level 5 for Singe 3 and Zeri copies. Now, you don't have to stay level 5 until Singe 3. When you're really close to Singe 3, then you can technically level to 6 and start rolling for the Zeri 3 and finish off your Singe there. It just depends on what stage it is, what round it is, if you need to stabilize hard, how many Singes you have, so you can kind of play this by ear. But regardless, both of these need to be 3-starred. Zeri best in slots is going to be Rageblade times 2 plus Gunblade, so that's why you really need 3 rods. And if you don't have a rod starts, I'd probably avoid playing this composition because it'll be too difficult to get proper itemization. Now, in regards of the augment, no scout, no pivots, remember as soon as you field a unit and the combat starts, you'll no longer be able to remove them from your board. So you have to remember that this lock mechanic will begin after combat start. So before a round starts, if it's the first time you're fielding the unit and you're like, oh, actually, I don't want to, then that unit will not be locked. But as soon as the combat starts, then you'll always be playing that unit. This means that in the early game, what happens if you hit like 2 Singes or like 2 Zeris and you're like, oh, well, now I'm going to be stuck playing 2 Singes. Don't worry. It's fine to play duplicates of 1-star units because once you upgrade them, it will combine and free you an open slot. Singe best in slots is going to be mana tank items, at least one of them. For example, Vow. You have to remember that Singe starts with 0 out of 50 mana. And the reason why this is important is because Singe and Zeri work together very well, where Singe will give Zeri an attack speed steroid because Zeri will be doing the most damage, and Zeri will in turn be attacking more and healing up the Singed. So one thing you need to remember is that mana items is going to be extremely good on Singe, which allows for a faster cast. However, you don't want to double up. For example, Vow will give you 30 mana. So if you have 2 Vows, then you're going to be insta-cast, right? However, if you're insta-casting, then sometimes if like the Rel auto attack registers first before the Zeri, or even like Rel has a decent amount of AD, and Zeri has pretty low base AD, especially with double Rageblade Gunblade and without being 3-starred. My point being is sometimes one of the Sentinels will take the initial Singed AS steroid. So if this is the case, then sometimes you need to second row the Singed to avoid insta casting. For example, like even if he's like 45 out of 50 mana, let's say you have a Redemption and a Vow, right? Something like this. Now he's 45 out of 50. Instead of being in the front and essentially insta casting or almost insta casting, then you want to second row him, let Zeri do a little bit of damage. The Singe will then walk up and then cast, and it will give it to the Zeri. So this is very important. You just want to avoid Singe giving the initial attack speed steroid to one of the Sentinels or even himself instead of giving it to the Zeri. Moving on to best in slot augments, no scout, no pivot, of course, on 2-1. You really do have to scout before you take this though, because if there is like a caretaker, Zeri, or someone has, I don't know, Firelight +1, you probably don't want to be contesting this. Anger Issues is going to be the best prismatic in this competition by far. So either 3-2 or 4-2, this is going to be insta take. You're going to 3 Rageblade your Zeri, 3 Rageblade your Singed. Starry Plus will allow you to hit starting on 3-2. Piercing Lotus, pretty good. You don't have to build an Even Shroud, allows your Zeri to crit. Clockwork, Inspiring, and Pandora's items on 3-2 will help you secure your bis. Law Anomalies, you're going to want to be evolving Zeri here because Zeri is going to be dealing perhaps like 95% of your team's damage. Mini-Me is extremely good on her, strength training as well. Power Up is going to be one of the new anomalies that is going to be really good in this composition. As I just mentioned, Zeri is going to be doing the majority of the damage in this composition. So since that is the case, she'll be able to use Power Up quite efficiently and continue to stack AD. And also the finisher as well, kind of like a built-in collector, and allows you to clean up the backline quite easily and execute them before they can continue casting or dealing damage. If you're kind of running out of gold, or if you just can't find any Zeri ones and you're finding a lot of Singed ones, so Singed can use Ultimate Hero, Fortified, Deep Roots as well. Remember Vertical Sentinel, so stay away from the resistance ones such as Bulwark and Stone Skin. Okay, so moving on now, we're going to go to Chem-Baron Smeech. So this is going to be a level 7 comp, and it's going to be a mixed damage burst comp. The way that you're going to want to be playing this composition is from a Lose Streak Chem-Baron opener, where you have 80 item starts, or at least like assassin crit items. So like a Hodge, BT, Titans, one of these will kind of angle your game into potentially playing Chem-Baron Smeech. You don't have to, but this is going to be one of the case scenarios. This is going to be best from Scoreboard Scrapper or Titanic Titan. Scoreboard Scrapper, if you're going to be loose streaking anyway, you might as well scrap some AD and AP and look for a win out later. And also Titanic Titan will allow you to go for a larger Chem-Baron cash out. So I'll talk a little bit of how to play this Chem-Baron first. So we'll start up here first. Ideally, you want to 5 loss stage 2 and play as many Chem-Barons as possible and fit in Chem-Baron ASAP. So let's say, for example, I played a game of this recently. I was dropped a Smeech box on stage 1 and I had a Singed. So I didn't have any better opener. I even took Scoreboard Scrapper. I fit in 3 Chem-Baron ASAP, got a Rennie off of Carousel, 4 Chem-Baron, and then from here, you want to decide whether or not to take the first cash based off of what it gives. So the first breakpoint here, once you reach 100 Shimmer, you want to cash this out if it gives you one of these lesser Shimmer dupes. If it gives you this, then you can cash it, and then you just kind of chill with it. Now you have a free lesser dupe, which will allow you to really save a lot of gold when rolling for that Smeech 3. If you're offered the Breakpoint 100 Shimmer and there is no lesser Shimmer dupe, then you should save the Shimmer and go for your next Breakpoint, which is going to be 300. The reason being is the 200 Shimmer cash outs are not that great. It gives you a lot of options for Rennies, it gives you a lot of options for Renatas, but there's not too many options for lesser dupes or at least Smeech. So that's why you want to go for the 300 one. And as you can see here, even though there's not going to be any lesser dupes, there's a lot of Smeech options, and also the items are going to be quite good for Smeech. The two we want to look out for is Executioner's Gunblade and Flesh Ripper on the Smeech. So both of these very good, being able to execute enemies, get some DA, some DR, and then also kind of like a built-in Edge of Night. It's going to be very good. And then also the other ones, the tank ones, are going to be Shimmer Bloom is going to be the best one on the Rennie, which will kind of act as a Moonstone and keep your units alive. One last thing to note is Smeech, just based off of his kit, being able to target the lowest health units that has the least amount of items, means that most of the time, even without 3 items, he will be saving you a lot of HP, jumping into the enemy backline, killing some units, and then eventually dying. But playing around this Smeech will save you a lot of HP even without having him triple itemized. This is what your board is going to look like on level 7. So we are still playing 3-cost reroll, so you want to level 7 on 4-1. Stabilized with at least Smeech 2 and preferably an Echo 1. At this point, you should be having multiple items. So since you won't always be looking to 3-item your Smeech because of the Chem-Baron items, sometimes you'll have like AP items as well. So that is why hitting at least 1 Echo on 4-1 is going to be pretty important, especially before all the scrap players roll on 4-2. And then your tank items you'll be putting on the Rennie. After this initial roll down and stabilization, you want to be slow rolling on level 7 for that Smeech 3, even that Rennie 3. Smeech's Bis is going to be double healing, so BT Hodge and a Chem-Baron item. while Rennie's is going to be Sunfire, even Shroud. You could even put like a redemption on her as well, plus the Chem-Baron item of either Shimmer or destabilizing Chem Tank. As I mentioned, the 2-1s to look out for is going to be the Chain Blade and the Shimmer Bloom. It's going to be the best in this composition. Other units to play, so the 3 Chem-Barons you're going to be wanting to play, you're going to drop the Renata or even the Silco if you have them early, unless you can somehow go for a 500 Chem-Baron cash out, but that's a different composition. Is going to be Singed, Smeech, and Rennie. So you want to pair Bruiser with Elise and the Rennie, and you want to pair Singed with the Sentinel for either the Loris or the Alawi. Honestly, I think even like Loris 2 is better. No Rebel Alawi doesn't do that much, and at least Loris will give you a shield. Regarding Ambusher, if you're able to play 5 Ambusher, then play it. But if you're not able to play 5 Ambusher, then there's not really a point to play 4 and just play a Camille. If you even have a better units other than this powder, you could play her as well. Business Law Augments going along with this composition, Ambusher, Crest, or Crown, especially Crown giving you a Hodge, and then also being able to fit in 5 Ambusher without needing the Jinx. Scorpion Scrubber, Titanic, I talked about this. Immovable Object, extremely good in compositions that have melee carries. Being able to keep these melee carries alive is extremely valuable, and most of the time these melee carries have enough damage anyway. Flurry of Blows is really good in Ambushers just because of the crit. Piercing Lotus, same thing, and you don't need to build the Spark or Even Shroud. Rigged Shop Plus specifically, now it gives you +9 rolls, which is essentially a little bit less than a rolling for days, and being able to see the 3 costs, extremely valuable for the Rennie and Smeech. And Inspiring Epitaph, same idea, kind of as the immovable object. A couple other really good ones, Health is Wealth, giving you a little bit of gold, and also the Omnivamp. Mace as well, same idea with the Ambushers, and that's half a Hodge, half a Guard Breaker, and lineup, as we will be having a lot of frontline units within this composition. So definitely give this comp a try. It is a bit tougher to pull off. You just really need to know whether or not to cash out the first one, 100, cash out the 300, when to win, and when to lose. Regarding anomalies, you really want to be evolving your Smeech. His best ones are going to be Last Chance and Invisibility. Definitely look over these two. Stone Skin is good as well. Kind of the idea between a movable object. He already has enough damage, so giving him that survivability. Voracious Appetite and Infectious, you can take if you're ahead and have a lot of HP. If you're 1 life, I'd probably avoid these two unless you're certain that you can win out. Comeback Story and Diving In are going to be acceptable as well. If you have an Echo 2 and Smeech 2 at this time, hopefully you don't have Smeech 2 by 4/6, but sometimes this happens. Bulwark, Stone Skin, very good on Echo, Last Chance, and Diving In as well. And our last composition of the day is going to be Visionary Flex. So since it's Flex, there's a couple ways to play around these lines. You can play the level 6 version, you can play the level 8 to 9 version, but all of these cases are going to be magic damage stall comps. If you're playing the level 8 to 9 version, it's a pretty flexible level 8 board, so I'll talk about what you can play there. And this is going to be a Malzahar check as well. As soon as you hit that Malzahar, you are going to really increase the average placements of this composition in your game. One last thing, this is going to be a pretty important composition to know because upcoming Heimerdinger is getting buffed. The first one is going to be playing Chem-Baron Renata. So this is going to be playing from a lose streak Chem-Baron opener with AP start. So the previous one was AD and gave you a line into Smeech. Now this is going to be AP giving you a line into Renata Visionaries. You're going to reroll on level 6 for Renata 3 while also buying copies of Rennie playing this board. So the main difference is now we are not going to be wanting to reroll the Vex, and we want to be playing this Nunu instead for Bruiser for the Rennie. Now once you hit this Renata 3, level to 7, play a Nami temporarily. Nami is just the best in when you can't fit in a better breakpoint of Sentinel or Visionary, and then you want to eventually replace that Nami with a Malzahar and a Heimerdinger on level 8. So just imagine this board, you have a Malzahar here, you have a Heimerdinger here, 6 Visionary, 3 Chem-Baron, 2 Bruiser, 2 Sentinel, with Rennie as your main tank. In regards of the Chem-Baron cash outs, it's going to be a little bit different compared to the Smeech one. So same idea with the 100. If you're prompted a 100 cash out with a lesser dupe, then you take it, and that's a free lesser dupe. If not, then you want to be going for the 200. As you can see here, the 200 is a lot more Rennie, Singed, and Renata favored. You have a chance for 2 Rennies here. 2-star Renata and a lesser Shimmer is insane. Renata here, 2-star Rennie here, 2-star Singed. So 200 Breakpoint is going to be better for Renata, and 300 Breakpoints is going to be better for Smeech. Moving on to the level 8 to 9 boards. So you're going to want to level to 8 for these compositions on 4-2, and then roll down for one of these front lines and ideally Heimerdinger 2. So the back line stays relatively the same. It's mostly the front line that is going to change a little bit. So the best one easily to hit is going to be Alawi 2. If you hit this Alawi 2, you pair in a set as well for 2 Bruiser 3 Rebel, and you want to be going level 9 ASAP to get in that Malzahar. Other ones, if you hit a Garen 2, then you just play Garen 2 plus a Vladimir, and these other ones, right, are just going to be your other 6 Visionaries. So either Visionary Alawi sets, Visionary Garen Vlad, or Visionary LeBlanc Elise. So these 2 examples here is what your Alawi board is going to look like. This is what your LeBlanc board is going to look like. And regarding best in slots, Heimerdinger just wants blue buff, red buff, and some sort of AP. Rabadons, Jewel Gauntlets, Archangels, these are all going to be relatively okay, with Rabadons, I believe, being the best. This is what your final board is going to look like. So as I mentioned, the Alawi one is going to be the best. You just drop the set eventually later, and you just want to be playing 4 Sentinel with Rumble as one of your carries as well. The best augments to go along with this composition is going to be Visionary, Crest, and Crown. So if you get one of these Visionary +1s, this will allow you to drop the Morgana. Morgana is not that bad of a unit because of the utility she provides to lower shields. However, if you do have a Crest or Crown, you definitely want to be Visionarying your Rumble instead, and then you drop this set for a drop this Morgana for a set. Mana Flow, extremely good, pairs extremely well with Visionary. Immovable Object is going to be okay in 4 Sentinel. In 6 Sentinel comps, of course you do not take this, but in 4 Sentinel Stole comps, this is actually still fine. And then also upward mobility or level up, especially if it's a gold opener, because of how hard this composition is of a Malzahar check. Couple other augments. 1-2 buff, I'd say, is actually one of these few comps that can use this quite well. I would only take this if you are really low roll on your tiers and if you don't have any anti-heal. And then also dual Q on 4-2 is going to be good as well, because of perhaps you hit the Malzahar, perhaps you hit the Rumble, perhaps you hit the LeBlanc, or even a Jace, and you can play Flex. Final slide for today, best in slot anomalies. This is going to be a stall comp, so you really want to amp up your front line because your back line will be doing enough damage, and you just want the fight to last longer, so then you're able to really ramp up and scale. Alawi, 4 Sentinel, she already has a lot of resistances. That's why Deep Roots, Giant Size, Fortified, sorts of HP on her is going to be best. You can also give a mana 1 to Heimerdinger, kill streak, nothing wasted. Magic training is fine on him as well. Or a dramatic entrance, and you'll just be putting this on whatever 2-star unit you have at the time. So like Rel is fine, even like Nunu 2 is fine. Doesn't really matter. Any sort of anomaly that will help your board stay alive longer, stall the fight, and allow your Heimerdinger to ramp up and allow your fights to just go longer. Okay, and that's everything for today. So I'll do a quick wrap up of the 5 comps that we talked about today, and then I will get this uploaded. So on this current patch, you have your default comps, right? You're either playing Sorks, you're either playing Scrap, sometimes you're playing Enforcers or a Reroll line, Unleash the Beast, etc. More of the niche lines is going to be the ones I talked about today. So Greater Moonlight Zyra, stabilizing your board right away on 4-2, roll for some sort of front line, get level 9, get that LeBlanc in, 4 Form Swapper, 6 Sork, and you're really, really strong. Too much value, Twisted Fate, being able to stack up those rolls, roll a little bit on stage 3, do most of your rolling on stage 4, going to be TF3, Lures 3, and 4 Quick Striker. No pivot, no scout Zeri, super strong. You want to make sure that you have a Rod start for sure, and you either have a Singed or a Zeri already, so you could start stacking them up. Chem-Baron Smeech, 100 cash out if you're given a dupe, you take. 300 cash out if not. And Visionary Flex, a couple ways to play this. You can play the Renata version, you can play the Heimerdinger version. It's totally up to you, depending on if you're contested, how your game goes, but it's very flexible. Okay, so that's it for today. I'm super happy that you stayed this long to watch this video, if you are here. Make sure you join the Discord if you learned something today. The patch will be coming out in a few days, so I'll be doing a new best comps to play on the new patch once the patch drops, along with an updated tier list of the units, the stage 2 slams, and overall patch meta analysis. So that's it. I've been Max. I hope you have a great day. Make sure you follow me on Twitch for my streams, and best of luck in your games. See you later.